Fáilte, is Misha Dr. Karen Ward, and I am delighted to be here with you this evening to talk about spring detox. Let's have a look at those two words. Spring has connotations of hope, of looking forward, of lighter days, of warmer days, and a sense of a spring in our step, brim full of energy, full of vim and vigor. Detox is a completely different word that has perhaps a sense of deprivation, of difficulty, of I know I should do this, but I don't really want to do it. But let's join the two of them together and let's look at how we can make a spring detox something that's natural, something that works, and that is not as hard as you may think. It's all about preparation, and it's all about knowing why you're doing what you're doing. As you know, during the week on the Facebook and the Instagram page, I suggested the idea that you might consider a food and drink diary. Some of you might know this very well, and for some of you, this might be completely new. And it's not just about writing down what you eat and what you drink, but it's writing when you eat and when you drink, and most importantly, why. Because sometimes we eat and drink out of habit, sometimes because we need the fuel in our systems, but sometimes we can also eat because we're lonely or we're bored or we're angry or we're upset and we want to self-soothe. And that's an important aspect to know before embarking on your spring detox. Then it's important to know, why are you embarking on a spring detox? And we need to be realistic here. A cat will never be a dog. A goldfish will never be a budgie. If we look at our lineage from our mother's line, our father's line, back to grandparents, perhaps in our wider extended family, if we are very tall people and we have a certain body physique and we take after those family members, well, then we need to realize we're not going to change irrevocably. We need to work with what we have. Then preparation is the key. And this is about deciding when you're going to start, how long you're going to go for, and buying in what you need. Now, if you can imagine, detox, this word means taking away toxins. And toxins are classically known as substances that are not natural in our system. So that can be smoke, pollutants, it can be additives, flavorings, colorings, anything that's not natural in our system. And that means that we're going to feel a sense of tiredness or sluggishness for the first 24 or 48 hours. And also, let's face it, if they're coming out of our system, we're going to have to be near a toilet. So I highly recommend that you start a detox at the weekend. You'll know your own particular work system. So if you have Saturday and Sunday off and you're back at work on Monday, then it makes sense to start at the weekend. But if you work at the weekend, then you start midweek. You will know. And that means that you have a couple of days to acclimatize to this new way of eating and drinking, and that when it comes back to working or homeschooling or whatever you're doing, you will be in the groove, so to speak. Also, we need to take into account this time of year. Classically, detox is lots of vegetables, lots of fruits, lots of juices, lots of water, fabulous. But we live in a cold, damp climate, and therefore make sure the vegetables become hot soups, the fruit might be stewed apple, and the water might be boiled water cooled with a squeeze of lemon or a little squeeze of orange. So we're getting that warmth into our system. Also, you might consider adding in something like a new Netflix series or a box set or a big jigsaw or a hobby or interest that you've been wanting to do for ages, so that you're occupied distracting yourself from thinking about what you're not having. Now, this really moves us into the zone of the detox. Classically, it's for a limited amount of time, 10 days to 2 weeks, sometimes a month. And if we think of the Christian Lent or the Muslim Ramadan, again, they go on for 6, 8 weeks, a good chunk of time. You can decide what you want to do. But here is the important thing. If we deprive ourselves of certain foods to lose weight, to increase our energy, put the sparkle in our eyes, good skin and hair, that's fine. But if we go back to the old way of eating and drinking afterwards, doesn't it make sense that it's only a matter of time before we pile the weight back on or go back to the dull eyes and the dull skin? Yes. Therefore, let the detox bring in new habits. And when it's finished, some of those new habits will continue, and some of the more, shall we say, stronger ones might return, but in a reduced way. Let me give you an example. Let's imagine for the 10 days, you come off alcohol, you come off sugar, you go dairy-free, gluten-free, and all your carbohydrates are whole grain, brown rice, brown pasta. You get the idea. When your 2 weeks is up, you introduce, you split a nice bottle of wine on a Saturday night, you bring back desserts, but you're more mindful of the sugar that's in them. And you perhaps decide, do you know, I think I'm going to stick with this gluten-free. It doesn't taste like cardboard. It's quite nice, actually. Or you might decide, yeah, dairy-free suits me. I've clear sinuses. I don't feel as stodgy. And then that sticks. And so you move forward with a sense of maintenance. Really, really important. But perhaps your detox has highlighted certain pinch points, shall we call them. And it might be you associate watching a nice film or a bit of TV with eating. And you think, do you know, I know from that food diary, I'm eating and drinking far more than I actually think. So you switch to your big mug of peppermint tea. Or you recognize, do you know, I'm really craving sweet sugary foods in the evening. And I'm sharing with you now that can often happen if you don't have a breakfast or a lunch. It means that your body's craving simple sugars, and so you'll eat anything sugary, sweet, to get the glucose inside you that your body needs. However, if you introduce a little bit of juice, perhaps a slice of wholemeal toast, perhaps a little bit of muesli, a piece of fruit in the morning, and then try and get lettucey, salady soup, hot soup in at lunchtime, that means when you come to the evening, you won't have those cravings. Also look at your vitamin and mineral content. Perhaps you're lacking chromium, which can also lead to cravings, or maybe there's a calcium deficiency. So it would be a good time to go for a good multivitamin. And there's some very good liquid ones as well that are very easy and quite palatable as well. Let us recap. Plan detox, know why you're doing it, prepare, buy in what you need. Don't overbuy, just enough. Plan to start with the first 2 days where you can take it easy and rest. Note that you will feel tired and sluggish for the first couple of days. This means it's working. Probably a few headaches as well are going to come in there. Keep going, lots of water or that herbal tea. And then within 3 to 4 days, you'll feel that lift, that energetic, yeah, this is working. When you finish, don't go for the blowout. Go for the reintroduction of small shall we say, treat foods. And it might be, instead of having the big sugary dessert, you decide to have a vegan brownie, or maybe go for some dates, or perhaps you go for pomegranate seeds or something a little bit unusual. And then you continue. This is doable. We are human. Are you going to fall off the wagon? Absolutely. But will you get back on? Yes. And get back on straight away. A final tip I would give you is, if you are looking at that chocolate bar or that cake or whatever it is, think to yourself, I'll go for a walk first. And then when you come back, you might only take a bite, or you might decide, you know, I don't really need it. And in this way, we're creating new habits for ourselves by springboarding on our spring detox. Thank you very much for listening. I am introducing something new on this Mind Your Precious Self series. The next talk I'm going to do is toward the end of February, and it's called Managing Your Holistic Health. For the next few days, I'm going to focus on the mind, then we'll take the body, then we'll take the soul, one that's often left out, and then at my next talk, I'll really bring it alive and introduce so much more that we can have in a lovely community together. Mila Buikas, thank you very much. 1,000 thanks. And if you know somebody who you think might like this, you're very, very welcome to spread the word. Slán go fóill, goodbye for a little while.